Before we proceed further, may I ask the COMSEC to now acknowledge the presence of our members of the committee and our guest and resource speakers. COMSEC.
Morning, Mr. Chair. We'd like to welcome and acknowledge our members who are present in this virtual hearing. Honorable Lawrence Fortun, Honorable Rufus Rodriguez, Honorable Pablo Ortega, the Honorable Onyx Crisologo, Honorable Irene Saulog, Honorable Sharon Garin, and Vice Chair Armuf Fuentebella. Your Honor.
Okay, how about our guest and resource speakers?
For our resource speakers, Your Honor, we have from the DOH, Secretary Francisco Duque III, Yusek Maria Carolina Vidal Taino, Yusek Abdullah Dumama Jr., Yusek Roger Tong-an, Yusek Mirna Cabotaje, Regional Director Ruby Constantino, Regional Director Adriano P. Subaan, from Eastern Visayas, Regional Director Exuperia Sabalberino. We also have Yusek Leopoldo Vega, Director Rowena C. Lora, Director Paul Gimbarda, Regional Director Jose R. Lacuna Jr., Regional Director Ernie Vera from Bicol, Davao Regional Director Annabel Yumang, Dr. Brian O. Dalid, Mimaropa Regional Director Mario S. Baquilod, Regional Assistant Director Win Belio, Assistant Secretary Santiago, Regional Director Gloria J. Balboa, Regional Director Joshua Brillantes, Dr. Leonita Gorgolon, Miss Eileen A. Sapol, Asek Maylin Beltran, Director Francie Laksamana, Assistant Secretary Francie Laksamana, and Director Angelina Del Mundo. We also have from the COA, Chairman Michael Aguinaldo, Mr. Ali Marti Natampo, Supervising Auditor Maria Carmelita Enriquez, Miss Carmen Ramos, Auditor, Miss Thessalonica Cabeliza, Auditor, Jeffrey Roa Serdena, Audit Team Leader, Supervising Auditor Rodora T. Ugay, Attorney Vivial M. Dulawan, Mr. Edgardo Rivera. Your Honor, we also have guests from the PhilHealth. We have President Dante A. Gueran, Attorney Maria Emily P. Roque, Acting Senior VP for Fund Management, Dr. Lambert S. David, Acting Senior Manager, Standards and Monitoring Department, Attorney Ernesto P. Barbado Jr., Dr. Bernadette Lico, Neri Santiago, VP Shirley Domingo, Attorney Eli Santos, and Mr. Walter Bacareza. From the private sector, Your Honor, we have Mr. Luis, from Luis Ora Memorial Regional Hospital, we have Dr. Eduardo P. Calpito. From Bicol Medical Center, we have Dr. Francisco Sales. And from VSMMC, we have Dr. Gerardo Aquino Jr. From Bataan GHMC, we have Marjorie Ann Mena and Attorney Christopher Lloyd Lau, Your Honor.
Thank you, COMSEC. Has everybody been acknowledged? If anyone has not been acknowledged, may we see, please say so, so that we will know that if anybody has been left out. The hearing, no one. I presume everybody has been properly acknowledged. We now go ahead and continue with our hearing. As a reminder to everyone, especially to our members and our guests, today's hearing is a continuing one, and hopefully we will be able to terminate soon on this if, once we get clarifications on certain key issues. To continue from the last hearing, we were able to establish that the 42 billion in DOH funds were transferred to the DBM, PSDBM, and this was properly acknowledged and validated by USEC Wayan, I think, and that upon validation or confirmation of such transfer, we also asked USEC Wayan if a certain Mr. Christopher Lau, who is now present with us, was the principal character in the utilization of that 42 billion, which was confirmed also. So we now decided that it was necessary to invite Mr. Christopher Lau to further shed light, because we're like detectives here. We're trying to trace the final destination of these funds to be able to enlighten everybody on the proper or improper utilization of said funds. Of course, we preferred on the proper, no? But that's it. That is what we will try and find out today, and if necessary in the succeeding hearings. So some officials from the DBM, I think, may not be present today. However, it is, and I would like to emphasize, it is the testimony of Mr. Christopher Lau, who used to be with the PSDBM with the rank of ASEC or USEC, and whose tenure in the DBM was roughly for about, was it 6 months or 16 months? Mr. Lau, are you present? Mr. Christopher Lau?
I'm present, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Mr. Christopher Lau, how long did you, were you connected with the PSDBM?
PSDBM, roughly I was appointed in DBM on August 2019. On January, I think on January, I was designated OIC because the executive director had issues with the Civil Service Commission on her qualifications for lacking master's degree, which is a requirement for executive director. So I was just designated as OIC temporary. However, circumstances were so abrupt that after I was designated as OIC, there was no more time to appoint a new ED because there was already this COVID pandemic, which took control over the country around March. So I was just in the office for 2 months, and suddenly pumutok na po yung COVID. So
okay,
that's it.
Then, sorry to interrupt you, no? But I was just reminded that some of the guests here, including you, might not have been sworn in. No? So we will, ComSec, please administer the oath to all our guests who have not been duly sworn in previously. And is there a need for the other guests to be sworn in as well? No.
Yes, Mr. Chair. May we ask all our resource speakers who are present via Zoom to please hold up their right hands. You do solemnly swear that the statements you will give before this committee shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God.
I do.
The oath is being administered, Your Honor.
Okay. Thank you for that, Comsec. Continuing with we're asking Mr. Christopher Lau on his some sort of history during his stint with but let me before we stray away, Mr. Christopher Lau, no, I'd like to establish first your so-called, let's say, employment history with the government in particular, no? As have been culled from information available in public as well as news items, is it true that you were an election supporter
Yes, sir.
during the campaign, presidential campaign?
Yes, sir. That is accurate, Mr. Chair.
And from after the election, when the president was elected, you what was your next? Where did you go from there?
I applied for any position in the government after the election, after the president was sworn in, and I was appointed as undersecretary under the president.
Undersecretary of which agency?
Presidential Management Staff.
Presidential Management Staff. Relative to these appointments, starting with the PMS, aside from being a lawyer, Mr. Lau, can you give us some idea on your specific talents or qualifications, work background? That would, while we know that these are presidential appointees and sometimes qualifications and or special requirements are not. Can you enlighten us on your?
I am a lawyer by profession since 2005. I am a practicing lawyer. I have been engaged in real estate business and education. I've been a teacher in Ateneo de Davao University, College of Law, and Ateneo de Davao University. I was a law student teaching finance. I also became a legal researcher for a city councilor in for 4 years. Then I became an arbiter in the housing sector, and I think I left it after 6 months. I preferred to be in private practice rather than in one office. And I became a consultant in Davao City, specifically handling only cases of violence against women, cases against child abuse, and cases involving trafficking persons. So cases involving those individuals, I handle it for free. We are one of the referrals by the city. I've been having clients in the real estate because of my background in housing. When I was in law school, I was working in the Committee on Housing before. And it's basically based on my background on my profession.
So from the housing and real estate sector, how did you transition to PSDBM, Mr. Lau?
Okay. I was appointed at PMS on 2016. Actually, that's not the original position I applied for. I applied for housing, but I was not hired. Instead, I was offered the position as undersecretary for the presidential management staff. The senior official at the time.
Mr. Lau, you said you were offered. May we know specifically who offered you these positions?
The HR, Mr. Chair, when we make what do you call, an application, it's like you're evaluated. Oh, there's a vacancy. Kung gusto mo, ganito na lang. I met that time. I think it was a building that's there was a building that they occupied, or a property that they were leasing, because the main office of the presidential management staff, I think somewhere in Arlegui, is due for repairs by the DPWH. So that was a time when, during transition, that I was interviewed. Since that's one of the highest position offered to me, under secretary, I agreed. When I agreed, I started reporting sa new executive. Yeah, because the property is the office of the presidential management staff was split to physical desks because of the size, restriction of the office and the number of personnel. There's too many personnel, very little space. I think it was a rented space, 2 floors, somewhere near the.
Yes. My question was, you got appointed to this position, and who appointed you, Mr. Lau?
The president. It's the president. It's under the office of the president.
You were appointed to what particular position again?
Undersecretary for the presidential management staff.
Undersecretary for the presidential management. Did you have any endorsement for this what?
None, Your Honor.
You just applied, Mr. Lau, and
Yes, Mr. Chair. Yes, Mr. Chair. It was just I was just pleased that maybe because not only because of my credentials, maybe of my historical employment, and maybe because the president remembered that I'm held in the election, that I was appointed. Okay. Maybe it's a mixture of those, but I did not have any. I'm not coming from any political family. There is nobody to back me up when I applied, Mr. Chair. Okay, so you are saying that out of being the supporter, you just simply applied with the PMS, and your application was approved, and you were then appointed. Yes,
is that
Mr.
right? This year, what year was this?
2016, Mr. Chair.
2016.
Yes, and on 2017, I think, Mr. Chair, or 2018, 2017 or 2018, when the housing started to have, I started to apply again, because that's the original position I applied, and it was granted. I was appointed. I think 2017, late 2017, second semester of 2017. Roughly about after a year, I worked with the PMS, Presidential Management Staff. So I worked with HLURB, I think with 2017 to 2018. It was also the time, when I was working with the Presidential Management Staff, it was a time when it was transitioning because of the reorganization of the Office of the President. Then I transferred to HLURB. When I took office in HLURB, it was also the time that it was also starting to have, not starting to have a transition. It was anticipating a transition because the HLURB was about to be merged with the HUDCC by reason of a impending law to be passed, departmentalizing the housing sector into the SHUD. So we were working on that regarding the laws, the IRR, on the transition. So when the law was passed, there was a transition on the office. We made the IRR, after it was done, I I actually applied for FDA. Yes, FDA. However, hindi po ako qualified because I don't have any medical or allied services background. Since I don't have any allied services or medical background, I was offered na, kung gusto mo talagang umalis na sa housing, may vacancy sa DBM, lumipat ka na lang doon kasi mahilig ka naman yung sulat-sulat. Sige, lipat ka sa DBM, you will be in charge of the legislative liaison officer.
And who was the one who made this statement, Mr. Lau?
Ano po? When sa PMS po yan, when we submit our PDS to the presidential management staff, they have several staffs to call us. Like, sir, based on our assessment, hindi ka qualified. So they say, so, are you willing? So pag sinabi mo, yes, I am willing, they will process it. But it doesn't mean you get appointed. Parang, sir, may vacancy, are you willing? Yes, I am willing. So they process it. But
So
after they process
the head of the PMS then?
It's under Secretary Ferdinand Cui. He is the head since I entered into office po. I think he is the secretary or the acting head. It's
of the PMS at that time.
Yes, the PMS. But he does not handle it directly. The staffs do, kasi that's what we do before. Before I we usually have staff when my CV, may mga application, because there are so many applications, we get it, have it processed, evaluated first. Evaluate yan if covered ng credentials, kasi there are multiple types of appointments. We have presidential appointment, non-presidential appointment. We have appointment terminus. We have we call that the career service appointment. So pag career,
Mr. Lau, so you're saying that considering that you were a visible supporter during the election, you simply applied with these various offices, got appointed without any special endorsement from anybody special for that matter.
That's true. That's true, sir. That's true. You can,
Only based on your qualifications. And you're saying that you were able to enter these offices purely based on your qualifications and background.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Yes, Mr. Chair.
And that your background being in the real estate, did you make mention of finance also as well? You have a background in finance?
I am a teacher in college at Ateneo de Davao University. Principles of Finance and Finance 101. It's more on investments and money management.
And money management. Now, so you started your government career in 2016 with the present administration.
I had a
Disappointment.
Hindi po. Originally, the first government employment was in, I think, 2001. After I graduated in college, I was teaching. When I graduated in college, management accounting, I started working with the city council as a legal searcher because I was a law student. At the same time, I was teaching in Ateneo and college, teaching principles of finance under the finance and administration, business and administration division. Then, when I graduated in college, in law school, I terminated my employment with the city council, one of the city councilors. Then I took the bar. When I passed the bar, I worked with
the LGU, Mr. Lau.
Yes. Then I worked with the national government, HLURB, for almost 6 months. Then after that, I went to private practice, and on 2016, I went back again to government.
Putol-putol lang ng konti yung signal natin, no? But I hope everybody else was clear on that. Now, aside from your stint with the local government, no, I'm particularly interested with your at the national level, no? Which I presume is when you started with the PMS in 2016.
Yes,
At
yes,
the
Mr.
national
Chair.
level already, no? When you were at the national level, no, in the PMS, your primary function there was as a
Policy implementer.
policy.
The president makes presidential directives, and we make sure that we implement it. We evaluate activity of departments. We handle complaints with respect to executive department and refer for appropriate action in different agencies.
So, around what time, if you can remember, Mr. Lau, no? When did the national government acquire two we call it battleships or frigates from Korea?
I think that was before before 2016, Mr. Chair.
Before 2016,
Yes.
when you were with the PMS at the national level.
Yes. Before we were appointed.
Oh, did you have any participation during this time regarding the transaction involving the two frigates?
No, Mr. Chair.
Absolutely none.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
You were not aware of it, or not involved at all in whatever way?
None, Mr. Chair.
How does this? We have a copy here of a note which you purportedly made addressed to Admiral Mercado.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Dated, not sure on the date of this. Let me just check. In 2017, no, January 2017, you signed a letter inviting Rear Admiral Robert Empedrad to a meeting in Malacanang in relation to the planned purchase of two brand new frigates for the Philippine Navy worth 15.5 billion.
Yes.
Did you confirm this?
Yes. I could.
So
That was-
you were lying when you said that you did not have any participation.
Mr. Chair. That was drafted when there was a complaint regarding the said purchase. As to the actual purchase,
My question was, did you have any participation in whatsoever manner regarding the acquisition by the Philippine government of two frigates worth 15.5 million? And you said you were not aware, you did not have any participation. And
Yes,
yes.
yes, Mr. Chair. I did not have participation on the purchase of those items or those vessels.
And furthermore, that you did not. Very, very simple yung question ko. Any participation whatsoever?
Yes, Mr. Chair. I'm
None.
allowed to explain, Mr. Chair.
Hmm.
The only instance that I had the information on that because there was a complaint.
So you did have information, and you were being with the presidential management staff since 2016. You were already then, in a position of authority to write Admiral Mercado to attend to this matter?
Yes, Mr. Chair, because it's one of the office directives when there is a complaint to our office, multiple complaints actually being filed in office, and we write official letters for them to be apprised that there are complaints. And if they wish to respond and air their side, we allow them so we can put it on record what is their side, and we just note it, Mr. Chair, so that when it will be evaluated in the future, we have an idea on what those issues are. And on that particular note, we just wrote them a letter. They informed us when they went to the office. Actually, they presented what the project is all about. And that's the time we understood that it was already a contract that was entered into, I think, early on 2016. I think as early as May or April, May. And the turnover of the project was already commencing during our time. But
So,
it's the previous administration that actually had started and terminated the entire procurement process. So tayo po, pag may complaint na sa implementation, yun lang po ang trabaho. Trabaho namin kasi may complaint.
so I'm not talking even of any complaints here. No, I'm just establishing the working relationships you had during your stint with the PMS. No, with the PMS, you said there was a head of the PMS. Well, the natural relationship there is that you will report to the head of the PMS. However, were you reporting directly also, or obligated to report to, or instructed to report to Senator Bongo?
Based on our protocol, Mr. Chair, we submit there are, I think, 2 undersecretaries in our office and 1 senior undersecretary. We send our reports with all the other assistant secretary to the head of agency, Undersecretary Cui. Undersecretary Cui will now make a report based on the agency that he is handling to the, I think, under Executive Order 1 and not EO1, because the office of the president has so many sub-departments. The head of our office will have to fund, which is, I think, because his function is also supervising, I think, 4 or 5 offices, because I think there are 12 offices in the office of the president.
So you're saying that you did not report directly to Senator Bongo,
Yes,
that
Mr.
instead you passed through the 2 undersecretary of the PMS?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Particularly to this on the matter of the 2 frigates. And earlier you said you had nothing, you are not aware of, you had no specific, particular, or special knowledge about this. But the note that I am looking at now is that to Admiral Mercado and then Ronald, this was given to me by Bongo. Go said it and sent it, and were to be submitted to the president. This was your note to Admiral Mercado, and you.
I don't think I wrote a note, Mr. Chair. I wrote a letter. I signed a letter. I don't make notes, Mr. Chair.
This was not your note, handwritten note.
No, Mr. Chair.
So
maybe, Mr. Chair, if there's a note, maybe it's from head of offices talking to each other. I'm not sure of that, but I just make a letter, submit it to the person who is subject to the issue. Then I furnish a copy to our head of office, which is Undersecretary Cui. That's what we compile it.
Generally speaking, that is on the matters that you want. In particular, I'm talking
all
about
items. All items. What we do.
So, in particular, I'm talking about your involvement in the 2 frigates, no, and
Yes,
any notes that you might have written regarding this. You do not have any recollection of such note?
No, Mr. Chair. I don't have any habit of writing notes because everything has to be in writing and informal, Mr. Chair.
Formal, yeah. Okay. Well, we will we will show this later on. What we have is that you deny any involvement, you deny knowledge of, and deny any participation on the matter of the acquisition of the 2 frigates. Is that true, Mr. Lau?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes. Okay. So next would be, I beg the indulgence of all the other members, because when I turn this over to you, I will basically be silent and just give you all the opportunities to speak out to my colleagues, if it's okay with you, no? Aside from the subject of the 2 frigates, which we will discuss more later on, if there will be a need. On the matter of the transfer of the 42 billion from the DOH to the PSDBM, I had the confirmation in the last hearing. We were able to elicit a confirmation that yes, indeed, it was transferred from the DOH to the PSDBM, and that according to Yusek Wayan, that when it got to the DBM, it was you, Mr. Christopher Lau, who was principally involved in the utilization of that 42 billion for COVID response materials, and that it was exclusively you who basically were the purchaser, who bought all of the COVID response items that were needed in the amount of 42 billion, more or less. Can you confirm this, Mr. Lau?
As a person in our office, Mr. Chair, I was the acting head of agency, which is the procurement service of Department of Budget Management. I confirm
Yes.
that.
So you had the exclusive disposition of this, being the head.
No, Mr. Chair. Technically, our office is the errand boy.
You had a team. Let's say you had a team under you, no, who handled these funds. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you headed this, no? Over how long, or how long a period were you able to utilize these funds in 2020?
I think more than a year, Mr. Chair, because we started very slow when the funds were transferred. One, because it was our first time to handle medical items. Second, because of the lockdown. And third, because of the scant supply of these items. And fourth, I was just recently designated as OIC of PSDBM from the DLLO, which is the department, the DBM, the Legislative Liaison Office. So being transferred there, it took me a little while to adapt and learn how to run the office of PSDBM. I do not have procurement, Mr. Chair.
Have an idea on the time frame, Mr. Lau? Just to have an idea on the time frame, Mr.
Yeah,
Lau.
I think bayanihan
your first disbursement regarding
March, April. I think
Lau?
March and April, Mr. Chair. March and April last year until this year.
So when you say, well, starting March of last year, you started disbursing from this 42 billion.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
And these were for different COVID-related response items.
Yes. It is based on agency purchase requests submitted to us by the Department of Health.
Yes.
It is who decide what to buy, but it is the Department of Health, Mr. Chair.
Understood, noted, no? But your background being in the real estate and then on the finance, being a teacher. So now you were designated as the OIC of the PSDBM with and tasked to use 42 billion transferred from the DOH.
Yes, Chair.
And you were given this position and the power to disburse this amount. Now, let's say presuming that your qualifications would involve you were qualified to dispose of this. You said that starting March you started disbursing funds from this, right?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
And you got in touch immediately with suppliers.
No, Mr. Chair. What we did is, when APR is sent, agency purchase request is sent to us, we usually blast it through our field jets. But however, there was no response because initially the initial suppliers, existing suppliers of the Department of Health, themselves, also have a list of those, is not responding because they.
That's why you started getting in touch with suppliers,
Yes,
some of whom were not responsive, some of whom were responsive. The
most.
suppliers of the DOH were not responsive, you say?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And what did you do next to be able to?
The next thing we did, Mr. Chair, is we checked on the supplies where it usually comes from. So we checked with DTI. However, DTI gave us data that most of the suppliers in the Philippines are just importer distributors. And based on the data they have, it's hard to import during the time because there was no commercial vessels and there were no airlines, commercial airlines flying, and a lot of countries were in lockdown. So supply chain is very hard. What we did next is contacted our ambassadors, our special envoys, the DFA. We contacted everybody. We also contacted DTI and I think BOI to assist us. So everybody was trying to help us contact everybody, and several ambassadors through Zoom meeting, DFA had a meeting with us, but most of them had already had these issues. They are restricting exportation of their items. One of these companies that I discussed, I think, is the Gene Magmax cartridge. They were only given specific allocations to supply the Philippines. So they can only, I think, have a maximum number of items to be shipped to the Philippines. Other companies as well were mandated to supply only America or Western countries or European countries. The only country that was open to us was China. I think that was through Ambassador Zhao, or it was already Ambassador Wang, who was the sitting ambassador then. We use our diplomatic channels to coordinate with them. The problem is this: we cannot go to China because it's under lockdown. We cannot send a team there because it's already lockdown, and China has this strict policy that you have to be on quarantine when you go there. So what we did was ask Amba Wang or Amba Zhao if they can provide to us suppliers who are willing to sell to us, and after which we waited for their response and they started responding. A lot of people were contacting. Our biggest problem there is these private companies want full payment, and they want us to pay online without us knowing them. So we asked the Chinese ambassador, China, formally, that if they can endorse to us companies, so that we will be assured.
You mentioned that you started communicating with them. These were all through diplomatic channels, more or less, no?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
And
yes,
these were all formal communications.
We have Zoom meetings, Mr. Chair. We have Zoom meetings. I'm not sure because I don't have the documents anymore, but I don't have the documents with me. I'm already a private citizen. But yes, these were all Zoom meetings. I think the ambassadors can confirm that, Mr. Chair, and I hope they're where I came from.
So you were able to establish supply links with Chinese suppliers through a combination of Zoom meetings and through the intervention of the Chinese ambassador.
Yes.
Now,
yes,
when you went into the formal purchasing, which you said most of them wanted cash. These were all documented when you started disbursing and buying.
Yes, Mr. Chair. What we did, Mr. Chair, since China was not willing, the government of China was not willing to vouch for this businessmen. They were just like, oh, there are here companies, but we will not vouch as to your transaction. We decided not to pursue them directly, but ask them to go to our office and send formal communications or send representatives. So we have physical person to identify these companies. So I think that's the main point.
So you invited these Chinese suppliers and they came here.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Yes, Mr. Chair. We were just telling them that if you're interested, you can come to our office, contact us through our email, Gmail accounts, everything. So
do you have any local partners?
I don't have the data of that, Mr. Chair. It is up to them if they can send. I think there are a lot of people coming to my office. I think there were European companies, but they were selling almost triple the price because it's made in Europe, Germany.
Particularly the Chinese suppliers whom eventually you ended up buying from. So
Yes.
did they have local partners here, or
Some have local partners, some do not have, Mr. Chair.
Okay, how many suppliers are we talking about?
I don't have the records with me, Mr. Chair. I think it's the presidential, it's the PSDBM who has the record, Mr. Chair.
Well, as I said, no, I mean, when you buy something, even the sari-sari store, sometimes we demand for official receipts.
Yes, Mr.
Okay, so what I'm after is the documentation on the disbursement of the 42 billion, which you were principally in charge with. And now you confirm that you dealt with Chinese suppliers directly, no local partners.
I cannot share.
Come again?
I cannot confirm whether all of them are direct or some of them have local partners.
You were negotiating with them directly. They came in.
No, not me directly, Mr. Chair.
Directly.
No, not me directly, Mr. Chair. Not me as me. Our office, because there are several groups. Like I pass them like.
Yes, but you were the head of that office and everything passes
Yes,
to you. Don't tell me that your clerk in the office just approved and or one without your signing off.
We follow the procurement process, Mr. Chair. I entertain them. I brief them on what our demand is. And then afterwards, if they're interested in supplying, we refer them for documentation who will teach them, like our Bids and Awards Committee, our DPG, our AFG, to teach them about our mode of payment, to discuss with our legal as to what are the legal requirements on procurement.
Are you implying, Mr. Lau, that these purchases went through the normal procurement?
Emergency procurement, Mr. Chair. Emergency
what?
procurement. Emergency procurement.
Yes. The emergency procurement. So documented, sabi mo, you brief your suppliers, the Chinese suppliers, on the requirements of law insofar as supplying is concerned.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Having briefed them, we suppose that you have complete documentation over all these transactions then.
Yes, Mr. Chair. It's in the office. It's in the office.
And that they are with the PSDBM.
Yes. And
Again.
I think Commission Audit has copies. We submit copies to them. I'm not aware if our finance department has already transmitted the same, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Well, we can confirm that with COA Chairman Mike on the full documentation of these purchases involving this 42 billion. If there are, no? According to Mr. Lau, he followed strictly, gave instructions to, even oriented the suppliers on the requirements of the law and by the PSDBM to be complied with, right, Mr. Lau?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Oh, and being the head of the PSDBM there, you made sure that these were complied with prior to. So complete documentation tayo dito sa purchasing.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay. So we will confirm that with the COA later on, and of course with the PSDBM documents, as
Thank
we
you.
will require them to furnish us this so that we can be assured that the 42 billion apart in whole or in part have been the disposition of which have been properly documented, compliant with the requirements of law. For the meantime, Your Honors, I will limit my interpellation of our guest, Mr. Lau, and would now like to start calling on the members who may have any questions. Who is Comsec? Who is our first one? Kong Lo Fortune, you have the floor now. You're acknowledged.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning to our colleagues and resource persons. Mr. Chair, naumpisahan nyo na rin tanungin si Attorney Christopher Lau. Tatanong ko na rin po ito because I asked this in the first hearing and I did not receive a categorical and clear answer from the Department of Health. This is regarding the 42.4 billion pesos, again, no, na transfer na funds. At ayon sa Commission on Audit, yung fund transfer ay maraming unliquidated balances, no, at saka maraming documentary deficiencies. As per answer submitted by the Department of Health to the committee through the Honorable Chair, nabanggit doon sa matrix na to date, no, as reported by the DBM, a total of 31 billion pesos worth of commodities have complete deliveries already. So that's the answer given to us. However, Mr. Chair, we are talking of 42.4 billion pesos. So that if only 31 billion pesos worth of commodities have complete deliveries, we still have an issue on the remaining 11.4 billion pesos, Mr. Chair. I was asking the Department of Health during the first hearing, but there was no ready answer, and they said that they're going to provide us details regarding the issue. But since Attorney Lau is here already, Mr. Chair, may I ask, Mr. Chair, Attorney Christopher, about the 11.4 billion pesos, because only 31 billion pesos was confirmed by DBM to have complete deliveries already as of this date. How about the 11.4 billion pesos, Mr. Chair?
Mr. Chair, I think the best person to answer that during implementation, if it's still ongoing, I think the present executive director of the PSDBN can answer that, Mr. Chair, because it's under execution, Mr. Chair.
Congressman Fortune, maybe you can, for the
Yes, Mr. Chair, if anybody from DBM can answer, we'd be happy to give the answer, Mr. Chair.
Kong Fortune, if I don't know if this has any value, but of that amount, how much was spent during the 2020, because it is the 2020 funds we are talking about, no? During that period 2020, the participation of Mr. Christopher Lau was direct. After that, when he resigned June, then what he's saying is he doesn't know anymore on the continuing disbursement of that. So maybe
yes, exactly, Mr. Chair. I agree with you. So that it's really important to hear from DBM. Dito sa 11.4 billion pesos na hindi kasama doon sa answer ng DOH sa atin, we would know from the breakdown, no, how what funds were utilized or not utilized during the time of Attorney Christopher, and what funds were not utilized or misutilized at that time when he was no longer with the DBM. So it's important to hear, Mr. Chair, because the DOH gave us that answer only as far as the 31 billion pesos is concerned. And we're talking of 42.4 billion, Mr. Chair.
DBM? Anybody from the DBM?
Mr. Chair, this is the committee secretary. Sir, PBM has no representative today because they are attending another hearing, Your Honor.
Yes, I think they are there in the. So,
Mr. Chair,
maybe you can ask another one that which
Mr. Chair,
can be
Mr.
answered
Chair,
by
Mr. Chair,
President Lau.
Mr. Chair.
Kung Rufus,
Yeah.
may I finish first with Kung Fortune, he might have some follow-up.
No, it's not about the questions. I'm just requesting the chair
It's your
to invite a representative of DBM. Not everyone is in. I also attend. I'm also in another Zoom on the DBCC, but there should be undersecretary attending this meeting. So we request.
Well, we will clarify that.
We request
Yes.
to have a representative because Congressman Fortune has some questions. Undersecretary of DBM can attend. There are so many undersecretaries at DBM to attend this hearing because we would like to get figures from DBM itself. So it's not that all of them are in the DBCC. We are asking that one should be able to attend this hearing to answer Congressman Fortune's questions.
Comsec, can you make the necessary communication? Yes, Kung Diaz Rodriguez is
Thank
right.
you.
No, they're in Congress attending to their presentation of their budget. However, they must be able to send at least a knowledgeable representative to answer our queries.
Because
Okay.
one of my
Thank you for
queries,
that,
yeah, just to add, Mr. Chairman, with your permission, because one of my queries to DBM will be the downloading of funds for what President Duterte has ordered them. Secretary Duque is here. He was asked to already pay within 10 days, and the DBM was ordered by the President to download and pay all our healthcare workers. So I would like to ask that also to DBM, aside from the Secretary of Health. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your consideration.
Anyway, Mr. Chair, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
thank you. Yes, go ahead, Kung Fortune.
Anyway, Mr. Chair, I will just go back to DBM when there's already a representative from DBM, Mr. Chair. I'll just proceed to another question, Mr. Chair. Tungkol naman po ito sa tumatayang 814 million pesos, Mr. Chair, na COVID-19 allowances na ibinayad sa ilang operating units na ayon sa Commission on Audit ay hindi alinsunod sa ating mga batas, sa ating rules and regulations, at maraming kulang sa documentary requirements nito. At Mr. Chair, marami din sa ating operating units as per Commission on Audit na hindi nakapag-establish ng qualifications ng mga workers na tumanggap ng mga benefits na to. At marami ding miscalculations on the actual benefits actually received by certain workers. At ngayon, lumalabas, Mr. Chair, na malaki ang numero ng mga workers na hindi pala eligible na tumanggap ng mga benefits na ito, ngunit nakatanggap. This is very sad, Mr. Chair, because for every ineligible worker receiving the benefits that are not due him or her, one eligible worker is deprived of the benefits, Mr. Chair. So, itong mga lapses na to ay hindi pwedeng palagpasin at dapat tingnan natin para maiwasan na maulit-ulit, Mr. Chair. So, ang tanong po, may datos po ba ang DOH ng mga nakatanggap na hindi dapat nakatanggap? May listahan po ba tayo? No? At alam ba natin ilan silang lahat? At magkano ang inabot na halaga o pera no, na napunta sa hindi eligible na tumanggap ng mga benefits na to. So may I hear from the DOH, Mr. Chair? Nakamute po yata po kayo, Secretary.
Can you hear me, Mr. Chairman? Can you hear me?
We hear you now.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now, Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead, Secretary.
Yes, requesting that Yusek Bong Vega please be recognized to answer the question of the Representative Fortune. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, can I be recognized? This
Yes,
is
you
Dr.
recognize Yusek Vega.
Yes, thank you po, and good morning to all, Congressman Fortune and Secretary Duque. The question on the 814 that was flagged by COA for people who have been given the necessary benefits, even if they are not authorized to have it, and this actually is composed of payment to unqualified recipients totaling about 214 million, and the grant of hazard pay, special risk allowance in the non-ECQ period. So, but the query really is how many eligibles could have been deprived out of the unqualified who had it. So, from the reports coming from the region, which we tried to gather, Mr. Chairman, we initially had a listing of eligible workers specifically that were not given the due benefits. At the first listing was about 20,000 plus healthcare workers, and these were given priority in terms of the benefits. So we were able to download 311 million as of yesterday, because this is the first listing. The second listing is we are trying to collate it now coming from the different regions and from the different private hospitals. But initially we had 20,000 eligibles listed and validated by the regions, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chair, the answer is not responsive to the question, Mr. Chair. But thank you, Justice Singh, for the answer. But the specific question is, we want to know, how many ineligible workers receive benefits that are supposedly not due them, and how much is the amount, magkano ang inabot ng halaga, ng pera na napunta sa hindi dapat nakatanggap. Thank you for that information that there are as of now 20,000 eligible workers that have been deprived. But we want to know how many workers receive benefits that are not due them, and how much is the amount, ang total na amount na inabot nito. So we would know kung magkano yung nasayang na pera, and as an additional question, Mr. Chair, what do we do with that money that went to people that were not supposedly eligible to receive those benefits? Anong plano po ng kagawaran dito? Sisingilin ba ang mga workers na to? Kukunin sa kanila yung mga naibigay na sa kanila? Gayong received naman siguro in good faith ito. If their names have been included and they've been given those benefits, baka naman po hindi nila kasalanan yon na napunta sa kanila kahit hindi dapat sila kasama. Now, what's the plan of DOH now? As I said, Mr. Chair, for every ineligible worker receiving benefits that are not due him or her, one eligible worker that have sacrificed in the front lines has been deprived of those benefits. So this lapse, Mr. Chair, has resulted in the deprivation of benefits doon sa mga workers natin na dapat nakatanggap ilalim ng ating Bayanihan 1 and 2. So please give us a specific answer. No, how many workers that are ineligible have received benefits that are not due them? Then how much ang inabot ng halaga, no, ng mga perang ito? Then what's the plan of DOH? No, anong gagawin dito? We're talking here of not a few thousands. We're talking here of millions, probably hundreds of millions. Ano ang gagawin natin sa pera? Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chairman, can I do the rejoinder post query near Congressman Fortun?
Go ahead, Yusek.
First of all, sir, Congressman Fortun, we are now trying to get the data, especially for the ineligibles who were given the necessary benefits, and this would total to 214 million, 214 million roughly in the payment to unqualified recipients. And for as to what we will do with the findings, we will ask for the justifications coming from the different operating units because of their very liberal interpretation of the law, which means that if they have the necessary justifications for giving this to the ineligible ones, we will consider that, and I think COA will also notice this as part of our rejoinder to the AUM that was given to us, sir.
Okay. Mr. Chair, nung nakaraang hearing, may nabanggit kasi si Congresswoman Stella that as far as the submission of the DOH is concerned during the BICAM, nasa mga 567,000 supposedly yung eligible, no, health workers na dapat tumanggap. However, the DOH came up with a reconfigurations, so to speak, of the supposed workers that are to receive, no, benefits under bayanihan. So yung 567 ay bumaba sa mga 380,000 if I'm not mistaken. Now, if you have this estimate already, how are you going to, as far as DOH is concerned, you have a specific number already of who are going to receive. Sino yung eligible, sino yung qualified, no? Based on your own guidelines. Although Congresswoman Stella Kimbo was questioning this because dapat yung all 567 should have been able to receive. At any rate, Mr. Chair, you have a specific number na in-identify ninyo. Now, you said that these are unqualified workers na nakatanggap. If mamaya, sasabihin, may mga justifications ang mga operating units, sasabihin ninyo na pwede din naman pala. Does this mean that your target 380,000 or so increases, no? As the operating units are able to justify giving benefits to the supposedly unqualified workers? Now, if this happens, how do you make do with the funds that you have? Kulang na nga doon sa initial ninyong binanggit na numero at may dadagdag pa itong mga supposedly unqualified at magiging qualified kung may mga justifications ang ating operating units.
Can we do the rejoinder, please, to the query of Congressman Fortun?
Yes.
Yes, Congressman Fortun, thank you for the question po, no? The 527,000 that was given to the bicameral is actually the number given by HHRB for the frontline healthcare workers. In other words, this is the number that was projected this is the number that was projected for the healthcare workers across the country. Now, 379 out of that 527 were given the special risk allowance lately from January to June. And the difference between the 527 and 379, which is roughly 148,000 healthcare workers, this is what we also project and been asking DBM to fund this to about 4.4 billion. Initially, there was a rollout of 311 million, and DBM already has asked us to give us the listing of the difference coming from the regions, validated by the different institutions in the regions, and we will submit this again to the DBM for funding sources, Your Honor.
Mr. Chair, hindi po yata nasagot yung aking tanong. Ang sinasabi ko po ay tama po yun. No? I agree naman na yun ang lumabas sa nakaraang hearing. The 527,000 was a projection, no, of DOH when when the legislation went to the bicameral conference committee. And on that basis, the basis of that projection, we came up with a specific amount, no, to fund these benefits for our health workers. Then yung 300,000 or so na numero ay galing po sa DOH. Ito naman yung sinasabi nila na ito lang dapat pala talaga ang actual na dapat tumanggap. Ang sinasabi ko lang po, since DOH already said that there were unqualified workers that received benefits that were not due them. In other words, identified po ito ng DOH na unqualified. At marami rin may ito dahil tumatayang 214 million pesos ang halaga na inabot na na-receive ng ating mga unqualified na workers. Ang tinatanong ko po, paano po yun? I thought you already have a specific number, no, out of the 527. Okay. If what we're saying now is that if operating units are able to justify the giving of benefits to the supposedly unqualified workers, lalaki po yung ating numero. No, aside from those that were already identified by you out of the 527, pagka tinanggap natin yung justification, does this mean that mag-i-increase po yung number? Because kayo na rin nagsabi na unqualified itong mga to but may become qualified if the operating units are able to justify, no, the giving of benefits to them. So this would mean an increase, no, of your, not only the projection but the actual number already that you identify. Now, how do we source funds now? Saan po natin kukunin yon? Kung marami na kang hindi nakatanggap, tapos yung nakatanggap na dapat hindi nakatanggap ay mapapasama pa sa qualified pala, no? So how do we reconcile now our funds, Mr. Chair? Honorable Yusek.
Mr. Chair, can I do the rejoinder, please?
Go ahead,
Be
please.
recognized. Honorable Congressman Fortuna, no? Yung talagang tama yon. If you consider the unqualified and then the COA already flagged us that they should not be given, and we are projecting the difference of the 527 and the 379 minus the 20,000, we will have 127,000 more of qualified eligibles. And this will actually, ang nangyari dito, this is what we have been writing to DBM to sort out these funds, and they have been also very positive by telling us that we need to have a granular listing of all these healthcare workers who are eligible for this program. We're working on this, Congressman Fortuna.
Anyway, at any rate, Mr. Chair, may I also ask, so that's as far as the unqualified workers na pwedeng maging qualified, no? If justified by the operating units. What happens now to those workers na unqualified na ang justification ng operating units are not acceptable to DOH? What will the DOH do, no, with the funds that have already been spent for this purpose para sa mga unqualified na mga workers?
Mr. Chairman, can I please answer?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Right,
Yung
sige.
pong DOH, ang moving forward, inaalam na po natin nga kung ano ang naging batayan sa pagbibigay sa mga unqualified. May batayan po tayong SRA doon sa RA 11494.
Thank you.
So, yan ay bibigyan mo lang, halimbawa SRA, Mr. Chairman,
With
doon sa may healthcare workers, indirect care. of COVID patients or in contact with. Ano po? So, dyan po ang nagkakaroon ng gray area. No? So, baka kaya gusto natin linawin ito, and this is now the subject of our request. We wrote the COA, and now we're also writing the DOJ. Kasi may mga iba, ang sabi nila, yung provision na yan is subject to liberal interpretation. Kasi nga naman, yung mga tao, with the advent of the variants of concern, halimbawa, Delta variant, very high ang transmissibility rate niya, 5 to 8. So for every person that is infected, he can infect 8 others at the most. Okay? So yung concept, bago dumating yung mga Delta variants, itong variants of concern, an example is the Delta, wala pa yan. Yung dati kasi, sinasabi lang natin, hindi, yun lang mga direct COVID care, in contact with. Pero nagkaroon ng supervening event. Yung supervening event, nagkaroon ng Delta variant. Actually, hindi lang Delta, Alpha and Beta. Lumalabas, airborne. So the risk is now distributed across all the healthcare workers operating within the same facility. Hindi na lang siya sa isang kwarto ba ito, sa isang ward ba ito, yung tao ba na nakasalumuha doon. Yun ang nagiging problema natin dito. That's why we are asking for clarification. Kasi yung mga iba ho, kaya sila nakapagbigay dahil akala nila in contact with or in contact with. So siguro yung janitor, halimbawa, pumasok, may kinuhang plato. Does that constitute in contact with? Well, with the Delta variant concept, yes, kasi pwede ka nang mahawaan because it's airborne. So yan po ang tinitingnan natin ngayon, inaayos natin, and hindi naman po ito katakataka because the virus is still evolving. And therefore, having said that, Mr. Chairman, hindi natin masabi talaga. So that's why we just have to be agile. We just have to keep reviewing these laws, and if necessary, we need to amend so that the DOH, our officials, will be protected also when they make these disbursements. Kasi nga ngayon, tama naman si Congressman Fortun, paano yan? Di ba? Nakapagbigay na, hindi naman qualified. And this is now the contentious issue that we're trying to address. However, yun naman pong tinatanong ni Congressman Fortun kanina kung lalaki yung number. Sigurado lalaki yung number kasi bibigyan mo pa rin yung mga hindi nabigyan na qualified. Pero yung mga unqualified na bigyan mo na, may mga iba pong mga regional directors na bago sila magpa-receive, may kolatilya doon sa receipt na if this is a subject of a notice of disallowance, balik mo. Parang may mga iba pong mga gano'n, pero that is that has been what was relayed to me, but I have to validate this, Your Honor.
Thank you. Maraming salamat, Secretary, for these clarifications. Ang sa akin lang naman, Mr. Secretary, a liberal interpretation would be most welcome. No, I'm not saying na dahil hindi qualified, kunin natin yung naibigay na natin. No? I suppose the operating units have been honest enough in the submission of names, and probably the issue of whether the persons were qualified or not was a result of some misunderstanding, miscommunication, or maling pagkaintindi dun sa guidelines. But actually tayo naman, ang intention naman ng Bayanihan Act 1 and 2 ay liberal dapat siya. That's the reason for the big number of 527,000 instead of the 380,000 as identified by DOH. So we want as much as possible more health workers that are involved in COVID-19 response to be eligible sa mga benefits na ito. So this is moving forward. Ang ano ko lang, Mr. Chair, dun sa issue ng Delta variant, I think the Delta variant came only 2021, and the unqualified, supposedly unqualified workers that receive benefits that were not due them, This happened in 2020 when the Delta variant was not yet around. No, at any rate, Mr. Chair, this is moving forward, and I think that is most appreciated kung yun ang direction ng DOH to be more liberal, no, in the giving of benefits to our health workers as much as possible. Kung sino yung dapat tumanggap, pakatanggap, no. Yun na naman po yung concern. Mr. Chair, for other questions, gusto ko lang ma-clarify, Mr. Chair. May mga issues lang akong gustong itanong. For example po, dito sa special risk allowance natin, which covers only public health workers sa period ng September 15 to December 2020. Ang na-cover po ng ating kagawaran ay 384,159 healthcare workers. Does this cover all public health workers?
Mr. Chairman, all public and private healthcare workers, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, I stand corrected, Mr. Chair. I want to ask pala about the actual active hazard duty pay, which is supposed to cover only public health workers, and the DOH covered 384,159. This covers all public workers, the 384,159, Mr. Secretary.
This is just applicable to the public healthcare workers, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. So dito po sa coverage natin na 384,159, lahat na po ito o meron pang hindi kasama dito? Is this an increasing number?
I am told, Mr. Chairman, that lahat na po ito, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Secretary. Now, for the special risk allowance, which is supposed to cover both public and private health workers, the number covered by DOH is only 306,314. May I know what's the problem with the disparity? Because yung actual hazard duty pay na supposedly pang public health workers lang, mas malaki tuloy doon sa special risk allowance na covering both public and private health workers. What accounts for the 80,000 na disparity sa numero?
Mr. Chairman, ito po ang disparity is explained by the law, the provision of the law, doon sa directly catering to COVID patient and in contact with. So hindi lahat. Merong qualifier. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So in the case of the actual active hazard duty pay, this covers even those that are not in actual or direct contact with COVID patients.
That is absolutely right, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Secretary, for the clarification. Mr. Chair, DS Rufus Rodriguez raised a question in the last hearing regarding the meals, accommodations, transportation, which is supposed to benefit both private and public health workers. And as we said, dito pa lang sa special risk allowance, nasa 306 na ang na-cover. Sa actual hazard duty pay, 384, no? Na supposedly ano lang to, public health workers lang. And yet, for meals, accommodations, and transportation, that's supposed to cover both public and private. The number is very low. No? That's about 103,096 workers ang benefit from the MAT. The explanation given was that inabot na daw ito ng expiration of the Bayanihan Act 1. Then although there was a law passed by us in Congress extending the effectivity of the law, ang justification given was that the extension did not cover the did not cover bills, accommodations, and transportation, but covered only the special risk allowance. May I know, Mr. Chair, what is the basis for saying that only SRA, as far as benefits are concerned, was extended, no, by by Republic Act 1159, extending the effectivity of Benihan 2, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chairman, it is embedded in the law itself, which was passed by Congress. So we had to abide by the mandate of the law.
May I provides that only the special risk allowance is extended and all the other benefits are not?
We're looking into it right now. Can you just give me a minute or two?
Ano? Can you listen kung kailangan ko response ha? Ano kailangan ko?
Mr. Chairman, just before I get hold of the, ito na pala. Ni-request din po namin yan. I just want to state for the record that even the math should be included among the benefits for during the extension of the Bayan 2 11494. Ngayon, ito po nakalagay provision of life insurance, accommodation, and meals to all public and private workers during the state of national emergency. However, it is to be noted that Section 18 thereof provides that the act shall be in full force and effect, except the provision of compensation to health workers who have contracted COVID-19 in line of duty as stated under Section 4K only until the next adjournment of 18th Congress on December 19, 2020. At may sa bandang dulo, sige. Pasensya na, Mr. Chairman, kasi hindi namin nahanda. So we're still looking for this particular specific provision. So, Mr. Chairman, pasensya na po for the delay. So, I'm just going to read Section 4, Item W, engaging temporary human resources for health, such as medical and allied medical staff, to complement or supplement the current health workforce, or to man the temporary medical facilities to be established in accordance with Section 4, Item U, 4 of this Act, provided that HRH to be hired on temporary basis shall receive the appropriate compensation and allowances, provided further that all HRH serving in the front line during the state of emergency due to COVID-19 shall receive an actual hazard duty pay. So yun yung isang benefit na actual hazard duty pay from the national government, provided furthermore that the actual hazard duty pay shall be in addition to the hazard pay granted under Republic Act number 7305 and the COVID-19 special risk allowance granted under this act. Provision, item H of COVID special risk allowance by the national government for all public and private health workers directly catering to or in contact with COVID-19 patients for every month that they are serving during the state of national emergency as declared by the President. Provided that the COVID-19 special risk allowance of public health workers shall be in addition to hazard pay granted under Republic Act number 7305 or the Magna Carta of Public Health Workers and the active duty pay granted under this act, provided further that the COVID special risk allowance for both public and private health workers shall be exempt from income tax.
Mr. Chair, what law are we reading, Mr. Chair?
11494. Wala ho kasi sabi ng DBM, Mr. Chairman, wala daw mention ng MAT, yung meals allowance, accommodation and transportation. So sabi nila walang legal basis.
So are we saying now, Mr. Chair, that the MAT earlier given did not have legal basis? So what's the basis for the giving of MAT earlier, Mr. Chair? Because if you look at 11.519, this is the Republic Act that supposedly extended the effectivity of Republic Act 11494. There is no specific mention of any particular benefit that will not be covered by the extension. From the title itself, Mr. Chair, it simply says an act extending the availability of appropriations under RA 11494, otherwise known as the Bayanihan to Recover as One Act. So it's very clear, Mr. Chair, it's a short law. It has only 7 sections, and none of the sections under this law state that there's a specific benefit previously given that will not be part of the extension given by this law, Mr. Chair. So if what BBM is now saying that the MAT does not have legal basis, what was the basis for the grant of MAT in the first place earlier, Mr. Chair, even prior to the expiration of the effectivity of the Republic Act 11494?
It was in the earlier law, the 11494. No, excuse me. 11519 is the extension.
Yes,
There,
Mr. Secretary.
it did not mention the grant of MAP. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chair, I believe the MAT has basis under 11494, Mr. Chair. Let me just find the appropriate provision. Because the basis for the grant of the meal allowances and transportation was 11494, Mr. Chair. And the Republic Act 11519 extended the effectivity of the entire 11494, Mr. Chair, without exception. Lahat yun kasama. So what we're asking now is,
Mr. Chairman, tama po kayo. That was also the
Section 10A5, Mr. Chair, to be exact, of 11494 states that there, accommodation, transportation, meals for all public and private health workers. So that's 11494, Mr. Chair. That's the legal basis for the grant of meals, accommodation, and transportation. Section 10A5 of 11494. Now, Republic Act 11519 says that the effectivity of 11494 is extended without exception. Wala pong binanggit na hindi kasama ang meals, appropriations, and transportation. Lahat ng nabanggit sa Section 10 ay kasama sa in-extend. If you look at 11519, Mr. Chair, lahat po yan extended. There is no provision, not one, in 11519 that states that any one of the benefits are not part of the extension given under 11519, Mr. Chair. So I suppose, Mr. Chair, that the justification given in the last hearing for the non-giving of the meals, accommodation, transportation, by reason that 11519 did not extend to that particular benefit, has no legal basis, Mr. Chair, because if you look at 11519, klarong-klaro, lahat po ay extended. Because I'm surprised, Mr. Chair, DBM says there's no legal basis for the math. There's legal basis under 11494, that's very clear. Under Section 10A, number 5, Mr. Chair. And that is also extended under Republic Act 11519. So, since extended, dapat natatanggap ng ating mga health workers yon. So, kaya nagtatanong tayo, bakit umabot ng 300,000 plus ang tumanggap ng SRA at actual duty hazard pay, dun sa meals, accommodation, and transportation, 1/3 lang, or even less than 1/3 of those who received SRA and actual duty hazard pay. 1/3 lang yung nakatanggap ng bills, accommodation, and transportation. This is very important, Mr. Chair, kasi yung accommodation is very important sa ating health workers because they are exposed to COVID-19 cases. Pag uuwi sila sa bahay nila araw-araw, they expose their families, no, to the risk of infection. That's the justification, I think, for accommodation. Nabigyan sila para doon sila uuwi sa accommodation nila instead na doon sa mga bahay nila pagkagaling sa trabaho. So, our question now, Mr. Chair, is bakit? Bakit less than 1/3 lang ang nakatanggap ng bills, accommodation, and transportation?
Mr. Chairman, can we have Yusek Bong Vega to respond to the question? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, go ahead, Yusek Vega.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Congressman Fortune, Your Honor. I'd just like to mention that on April 8, 2021, we wrote a letter to DBM for funds for SRA and the AHDP for December 20 to June 30, 2021 in the amount of 16 billion po. But only the SRA was given for January to June.
So yung
Mr. Chair, thank you to the DOH for that effort. But I would like to hear from DBM. Why did you not include meals, accommodations, and transportation when the law very clearly provides for the extension of the effectivity of 11 of the Bayanihan Act 1? Wala pong binanggit doon na iilan lang ng mga benefits ang extended. Lahat yun po extended. So may I hear from DBM, what's the basis for denying the meals, accommodation, and transportation para sa ating mga health workers?
Mr. Chair, if I may,
yes, please.
Mr. Chair, according to the DBM liaisons officer, Yusek Pinakanda is answering right now, sir, in the other hearing. Right now, sir, they only have Attorney Jason Neruayan from PSDBM.
If he can answer, Mr. Chair, I would like to hear from DBM kasi napaka-glaring ng misinterpretation na to, Mr. Chair. Tayo sa Congress, alam natin ano yung pinasa natin. Alam natin na we'd like as much as possible to liberally interpret our legislation, especially as far as the benefits for our health workers are concerned. But on this matter, Mr. Chair, very specific yung ating batas. Yung ating 11519, the intent of Congress was to extend the effectivity of the entire 11494 without exception, Mr. Chair. Kung ano man yung available funds pa na pwedeng gamitin ilalim sa Bayanihan Act 1, yun ang intention natin na extend ang appropriations noon, extend ang effectivity ng batas. Now, why did DBM exclude certain benefits when that is not the intention of Congress? Wala akong makita sa very short na batas na ito, only 7 sections, na nagsasabi na ang meals, accommodation, and transportation ng ating mga health workers ay hindi kasama sa ini-extend natin. So this interpretation of DBM resulted in the deprivation of benefits of thousands of our health workers na dapat nakatanggap sa mga benepisyong ito. So if anybody can DBM answer that, Mr. Chair, we'll be happy to hear from them. What was the basis for denying these benefits?
According to COMSEC, Yusek Kawayan is present with us. Tama ba, COMSEC?
Mr. Chair, if I may please be recognized.
Yes, you recognize DBM Yusek Kawayan.
Mr. Chair, in as much as I would like to answer the query of the Honorable Fortune, I am not the proper person to answer such, Mr. Chair, since my scope is only limited to the operational aspect of PSDBM. And with respect to any interpretation with regards to funding, I would leave it to the proper authority under the DBM po, Mr. Chair.
I think I beg to disagree, Yusek Kawayan. You're involved with operations, and Kong Fortune is asking about the operational release or non-release.
Mr. Chair, we are not involved in the release of any budget po, Mr. Chair. Our role in PSDBM is only to procure common use supplies and equipment, as well as to serve as procuring agent to agencies of government which require assistance for procurement of any project, Mr. Chair.
You mean to say, hindi ba nanggagaling sa inyo yung mga SARO?
No, Mr. Chair, that is not correct, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, PSDBM is actually an attached agency, technically speaking, Mr. Chair.
So who should we address the question to?
Yes,
in the
Kap, may
DBM?
buntag, Kap.
Good morning, nakadisturbo ko ka.
No problem. Sige lang. Naka-meeting pa ba lang?
Who should we address this query of Kong Fortune to?
No, okay.
Mr. Chair, it should be within the DBM office po.
Okay.
At any rate, Mr. Chair, that's a hanging question, Mr. Chair, that the DBM has to answer to the committee, Mr. Chair, and to the public. Napakalaking pera itong na-deprive ang ating mga health workers na wala namang legal basis for denying that those benefits. Anyway, Mr. Chair, I'll just proceed to another question in the interest of time.
Kung Fortune, can we go to the second round for you, and we will
matawag ka sa iya.
Mr. Chair, yung kanina lang, Mr. Chair, na hangin kasi nandito na si DBM. Yung hangin lang kanina, Mr. Chair, na 42.4 billion pesos na unliquidated allotments. Tapos the submission of the Department of Health to us through you, Mr. Chair, was that to date, 31 billion pesos have complete deliveries. But since this is only 31 billion pesos, Mr. Chair, and we're talking of 42.4 billion pesos, we want to hear from DBM, kumusta na yung 11.4 billion pesos? If only 31 billion have complete deliveries, paano naman yung 11.4 billion pesos, Mr. Chair? That's what we want to hear. That Attorney Christopher Lau refused to answer because dapat yung current PS in charge, no? Should be the one to answer that. So that's the last question, Mr. Chair. May I hear from DBM about the 11.4 billion pesos that don't have yet no complete deliveries. We're talking of 42.4, 31 billion pesos ang merong complete deliveries. Kumusta naman yung 11.4 billion so far? Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
out of we only actually received 41.4 billion for 2020, Mr. Chair. And as of this day, 39.3 billion of that 41 has already been obligated, Mr. Chair. And out of the 39.3 billion obligated funds, 27.1 billion were already paid, and we have an ongoing delivery of 12.2 billion, Mr. Chair, as of this day.
So that still
Mr.
leaves a
Chair.
balance. Go ahead.
Yes,
Coco.
yes, Mr. Chair, that's my last question, Mr. Chair. But just for the benefit of the committee, Mr. Chair, because DOH said that they wrote the DBM, no, also requesting for funding for the meals, accommodation, and transportation, but which DBM denied. Mr. Chair, may we know if a formal letter, no, response was sent to the DOH, no, regarding the request for funding for the meals, accommodation, and transportation? And if that letter is available, Mr. Chair, can the committee be furnished, no, copies of the pertinent letters, Mr. Chair?
And for clarification also, Congress Porto, no? Parang I heard in the news that the president gave instructions to the Secretary of the Department of Health, Secretary Duque, to release all of this, to have all of this released, if I'm not mistaken. So dapat wala nakapending dyan, di ba, Secretary Duque?
Yung pong kautusan ni Pangulong Duterte, patungkol po ito doon sa 20,154 na hindi pa nabayaran ng SRA. Ito po yung katumbas na 311 million thereabouts at meron ng SARO na lumabas kahapon. So ito po ay pinuproseso na for payment to this number of healthcare workers who have not received their SRA. Now, yung pong katanungan ni Honorable Fortune, meron po kami sulat sa kanila patungkol po dun sa sinabi ninyo at meron din po silang sagot sa amin. We can just furnish you with the two documents, our forward letter to them, and then their reply to us, Your Honor, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Secretary, because we will question the denial of those funds, Mr. Chair. That has no legal basis. The intent of 11519 is to extend the effectivity of the entire 11494 without exception, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Secretary Fortune. Are there any other questions? If not, we can go to the next interpolator, who is Congressman Sarate.
Mr. Chair, if I may, Kong Sarate is not online right now, and so is Congresswoman Herrera. So you may now call on DS Rufus, sir.
Okay, Congressman DS Rufus.
Thank you once again, my dear Chairman Bonito Singson. Good noon to Secretary Duque and my distinguished colleagues who are here with us, including also representatives from DBM. Now, I am very, very happy that Congressman Fortune has clearly laid down what the law is. And the law provides certainly Secretary Duque and Undersecretary Vega and Director Lacuna that meals, allowances, and transportation is exactly found on Section 10A5. And therefore, the law mandates in our Republic Act 11494 to pay meals, allowances, and transportation, or MAT. And so that is confirmed now. In the answer of Secretary Kanda in the previous meeting, I got mad because she said that only SRA could be given because there is an EO. And I said, no, ma'am. The law, Republic Act 11519, provides for this meal allowances, transportation, and accommodation. And as correctly pointed out by Congressman Lawrence Fortun, Republic Act 11519 has extended all benefits. So it is clear now. What can you say now, Secretary Duque? First of all, let me thank Secretary Duque because our vaccines are arriving very well and in adequate supply. And of course, we have with Director Lacuna, we have paid already all the healthcare workers for public and private hospitals in Cagayan de Oro for the SRA. So thank you, Secretary Duque. Now we go to another issue now, and this is now the math. I am glad that you wrote on April 8 for 16 billion, and I hope the 16 billion that the DOH requested the DBM included the math, because otherwise, then you are negligent in not requesting what the law provides. We congressmen will make sure that the mandated agencies would be able to faithfully comply with all the mandates of the law. So now, what is the way forward? Secretary Duque, klaro na yung meals, accommodation, transportation is required by law, the Bayanihan 2. It is also clear that under Republic Act 11519, extending the validity of Bayanihan 2 carries with it all the benefits. So what is the way forward? Because this can still be done, because you know what? We thank in this particular hearing, President Duterte last Saturday, I saw him. And he therefore has ordered the Honorable Secretary Duque of Health and giving 10 days to the DBM, Secretary Kanda, to already pay all what was stated there by President Duterte, all benefits due to our healthcare workers. The President has taken this into his own volition and his own directives for us to follow. So now, Secretary Duque, can you tell us how do we go forward to the MAT of our healthcare workers, especially in Cagayan de Oro? Because Cagayan de Oro, the health workers has a direct line to my cell phone. They have all my cell phone is always shown on TV and on radio. That's why they text me kung hindi pa nababayaran. So I asked our dear Secretary Duque about this. Let us first tackle the math.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I reassure the Honorable Representative Rufus Rodriguez that our positions are aligned as to the mandate of the law. And having said that, we will make sure that a follow-up letter with regard to the funding of the MAT will be reiterated or will be sent to DBM. So yun lang po. We share the same position as regards this, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Once again, thank you to our Secretary Duque. So we are okay with the math. We would expect Secretary Duque, in compliance with the President's directive, to give all the benefits to our healthcare workers who have catered directly to or in contact with the COVID-19 to be paid all their benefits, now, including math. Now, I'm going now to the SRA. We also thank Secretary Duque and Secretary Kanda for the very fast request and downloading of 311 million. We will know from Secretary Duque how much is slated for the healthcare workers of Cagayan de Oro City. I understand Director Lacuna is here.
Mr. Chairman, kindly recognize Director Boy Lacuna of Northern Mindanao. Thank you.
Yes, Director Lacuna. But before the answering, Kong DS Rodriguez, may we on the your query, no, regarding Cagayan de Oro itself, no. Well, as I no, if let's be mindful, we're talking about the 2020 budget, no. We're not talking about the current if we and I will reiterate, I made mention of this previously, that we can
Yes.
start another hearing for the current year, specifically from January to June if need be. But for purposes of expediency and can Sitness, do you want to continue with this line of questioning on the local aspect of
No, because Mr. Chairman, the relation is that our bayanihan was approved 2020. Bayanihan law is 2020. So this is in relation to the bayanihan, which also extended in December the applicability of bayanihan 2. So these are just two very simple matters, Mr. Chairman. We will end quickly here. First is we will ask first our regional director, number one, because he has already paid the public health workers of the SRA. Now, my question to him, which was also the question last time, Mr. Chairman, is that SRA, and Secretary Duque, please confirm this, healthcare workers and BNS who were embedded in the BHERTS, Barangay Health Emergency Response Teams, who were directly in contact with COVID-19 patients because they extract them from the house and bring them to the CIUs or the temporary treatment and monitoring units, or the CIUs, community quarantine units, and those also in working. Now, these are health workers, as answered the Secretary to Congressman Natasha Ko, of health workers should be paid if they are in contact with COVID-19. Okay. So my next question is, the SRA, that 311 million, does this already include the BHWs and BNS, who are healthcare workers who were in contact with our patients, COVID-19, because they struck them, bring them to the facilities. Number two, those COVID-19 positives who cannot go to any facility, to hospital or to a CIU because they are full, they stay at home. Our BHS and our BHW go there to take their vital signs, to bring medicine to them, to monitor them. So clearly, our barangays are able to really take care directly our COVID-19. Maybe no, from Director Lacuna, whether, as he has promised last hearing, he has already secured the list of BHWs and BNS of Cagayan de Oro 80 barangays.
Go ahead, please respond.
May I be recognized, sir?
Yes, Director Lacuna. Go ahead.
Okay. Right now, we are finishing the list from Cagayan de Oro City of the revised list of the BHWs because they have additional, sir, as correctly identified during our meeting with the City Health Office. I also emphasize the BHWs and the BNS should have orders from the local health board as specified for in the law that they are made part of the composite team that provides medical services po. As to the meals allowance, we are only
Before that, Director, so how many now BHWs in your list and BNS who directly? The law does not, the law is clear that those health workers who are directly catering to or in contact with, and BHWs in Cagayan de Oro 80 barangays were clearly in contact with the COVID-19 patients. So maybe you know how many from Cagayan de Oro are our BHWs and our BNS embedded in the BHERTS, which are taking care. And of course, there is a directive because the BHERTS is a directive of the city government and the national government.
Kung DS Rufus, will this include the drivers who drive the ambulances that pick up the COVID patients?
Yes, that should also include.
Yes, just for clarification.
For the hospital side. Yes, this should include the ambulance. This is additional to the hospital personnel. I am now talking BHS, but yes, the ambulance drivers who got them, also the assistants, and then even the secretaries of doctors who are taking care of these patients when they come. So that's a different matter, but that is included, Mr. Chairman. Clearly, that is included. But what I'm asking now is the BSW and BNS, how many? Because you have 6 days already, Director Lacuna.
Okay.
Get all this.
In Region 10, sir, there are 16,105 BHWs.
Okay.
Last 2020 po, we identified 597 BHWs to receive SRA and 750 to receive the actual duty hazard pay. For December 20 to June 30, we identified 745 BHWs bar BNS because there are BHWs who are BNS themselves. 745. No actual duty as provided for in the guidelines.
And how many from Cagayan de Oro will receive SRA, BHWs and BNS?
745 po, sir.
745.
Yes.
That's good enough. Yeah. So how many BHWs do you have in Cagayan de Oro?
1,000 plus, sir, 1,006. Pero not
Up
as
to this.
specified, not all BHWs will receive. Only those with orders from the local health board, represented by the city health office with orders who are qualified.
And these are now 700 plus.
745, sir.
Very good. Almost everyone 1,000. So is that Secretary Duque, are these 741 BSWs, BNS that have been working for COVID-19 patients, are they part of the 311 million downloaded by the DBM upon your request, Secretary Duque?
Mr. Chairman, as certified by the CHD, all these barangay health workers are included to receive within the 311 million thereabouts budget for SRA.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now, up to my last question, Mr. Chairman. In relation to the MAT, okay, is MAT included, Mr. Chairman, is MAT included in the 311, or we have to ask for more so that we can give the MAT as required by law? Secretary Duque, please.
Mr. Chairman, yes, that is correct. We will ask for more as the 311 million does not include the grant of MAT to the beneficiaries.
Maybe ask our regional director, Lacuna, how many healthcare workers in the public and private schools, hospitals, and how many BSWs will be entitled to the MAT, because your secretary has already said that you will be asking for more because that is what the law is. The law requires you to give for those who serve up to June 30, the meals, allowance, accommodation, and transportation. May we know how many healthcare workers for private public hospitals and how many BHW and BNS will be entitled to the MAT for Cagayan de Oro?
The meals, accommodation, and transportation will be given to the personnel who are also actively giving medical services, sir. So more or less, those who will receive SRA plus AD hazard pay will receive the meals and allowance as well as the transportation po. In our discussion,
So how many?
Hello,
So
sir.
how many were given already, SRA? How many health workers in Cagayan de Oro from public private hospitals, how many have been given SRA? Because you were fast in giving it last Wednesday and Thursday.
Yes. Cagayan de Oro, we have 1,138 for 2020 on sir, and then 976 for SRA. Ang karon 21.
20 January to June. How many SRA given already?
Yes,
CDO.
po, sir. Yes. We're counting, sir. Just for a minute. Sir, is it all right? I'll give to you later. I have the list.
Okay.
I'm still looking for it, please. Thank you.
Yes, so it's clear now that Secretary Duque and Chairman, it's very clear that the 311 million will already include the BHW's BNS 741 from Cagayan de Oro City, include in the 311, because these are the only health workers not yet given, because DOH was fast in giving the SRA last week to our public hospitals and private hospitals. So we are clear about that, that we have 311 million includes the barangay health workers. So these 741 barangay health workers, Dr. Lacuna, will be receiving the 5,000 a month, correct?
Actually, they are part of the December 20 to June 30 given to the city of Cagayan de Oro because they belong to the LGU.
Okay, so have there been, did you check on these numbers, whether they include really all the BHW who were in touch with COVID-19?
Yes, we just had a meeting this morning, sir, and they will follow
Okay.
up for the finalists.
So very good. So 741, that's good enough to be able to be given. As to the math, yes, we thank Secretary Duque because our Cagayan de Oro healthcare workers, including the BHWs, will be receiving meals, accommodation, and transportation allowance, just like their counterparts in the hospitals. Because as stated by Director Lacuna, all those who receive SRAs, which is about 976, there were 976 healthcare workers in hospitals and in public and private hospitals, and they receive already SRA up to June 30. So question is, will they receive also the MAT, and how many of them again? Do you have the records now, Director Lacuna?
As I said before, for the match, sir, they will be the ones who receive the SRA because they're in actual duty. We don't give just to anyone. Those
Yes, that's right. Those
yes.
those who receive SRA will be receiving MAT, correct?
If we are instructed to do so.
Your secretary already said that
Okay.
he has the same feeling. So the secretary said already he believes also in my position that so for MAT, we're talking of 976 SRA, 976 hospital employees, and we have 741 BHWs. So a total of 1,600 healthcare workers will receive MAT. Is that correct, Director Lacuna?
That would be it, sir. For those who receive the SRA, they will have also the MAT if we will receive the guidelines. When we receive it, actually we're going on, sir. We're going on with the consultation pending for the arrival of the guidelines so that it will be immediately implemented or asked for if the policy will come in.
Thank you. So, Mr. Chairman, to finally just summarize, one, we have the commitment of Secretary Duque that the MAT will be requested by the Honorable Secretary to the Department of Budget and Management. It is clear that by law section 10A5, it's clear to give insurance, meals, transportation, accommodation allowance. And it is clear under Republic Act 11519 that all of these benefits in section 10A are extended to June 30. And so that's the first one, that we will have the MAT. And I'm happy that Director Lacuna has already made the list of the SRA recipients already who will also receive the MAT, who are public hospital or private hospital HCWs, and also the BHWs and BNS. Okay. And the second one is that we are very thankful that Secretary Duque will be able to give our BHWs and BNS their SRAs so that we will all be complete in the Cagayan de Oro. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I thank Secretary Duque, Director Lacuna, and the Honorable Chairman for allowing us to continue and to finish our interpellation. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Congressman P.S. Rodriguez, and thank you, Director Lacuna. Thank you, the Secretary. Now, I think that we will just be able to accommodate one more Congressman BH. Herrera, are you online? Kong BH? Hmm. Last time, Kong BH, are you online to do your interpellation? Okay, hearing none.
Mr. Chair, pa-start muna dun sa iba, Mr. Chair.
Okay,
Nasa kabilang hearing lang ako, Mr. Chair. I will give way na lang. I'll just let you know if I'm already ready. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
okay. Okay, so we have the second one will be the DS Ferdinand Hernandez. Are you online, DS Ferdinand Hernandez? Yes, Kong Ferdinand Hernandez. There. Okay, DS Ferdinand Hernandez, you are recognized. Please go ahead with your interpellation.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to ask if Chairman Aguinaldo is present.
Yes, he was present. He is present, I think.
Nandito po, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Chairman, may question. No? It has been the regular procedure when there is a findings, may nakita yung COA na dapat i-correct o meron kayong nakitang hindi naman natin sinasabing anomalous, no? But in other words, you always give the agency the time to comply and respond to all the COA findings. Am I right?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
And then you always give them a deadline to comply, and then you move on to the next procedure. Tama po ba?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
So in the situation of DOH, correct me if I'm wrong, no? Na binigyan niyo sila ng time, nag-lapse yung time, kaya it's already due that you have to post online the COA findings as far as DOH is concerned. Tama po ba?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
And you also do the same to other agencies. Ibig sabihin, hindi lang DOH yung nakapost na may findings yung COA, but other agencies also. Tama po ba?
Tama po, Mr. Chair.
So, in other words, there was no intention on the part of COA to single out DOH. Tama po ba?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Tama po yun. As you had mentioned, this is something we do for all agencies. It's the normal procedure. Wala pong pinagbago. If there's any difference, there was also a focus on COVID funds. Since malaki ang allocation doon, nagkaroon po ng management letter focused only on the COVID funds. Pero yung annual report po, it's the same year in, year out po. Same procedure followed.
So in other words, you're performing your constitutional duty.
Yes, sir.
So, yung mga findings naman ninyo, subject to compliance pa rin naman. It's not final, right?
Yes. In fact, I think during one of the earlier hearings, Mr. Chair, the DOH had already submitted yung updates on their compliance with the recommendations. Meron silang sinabing fully complied, partially complied, and things that they're working on. And they still have a lot of time to do it pa naman po, Mr. Chair.
So, in other words, there was no intention on the part of COA na unain lang ang DOH and medyo hindi nyo naman ginawa yon to persecute DOH kasi parang siyempre we would like to correct the public that as far as COA is concerned, you're just performing your duties and this is in accordance to your mandate and wala kayong pinipili. And it so happened that COA is the most important agency sa panahon ng pandemic. Tama po ba?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. I guess you meant DOH is the most important agency sa pandemic or hindi naman kami. But I think if you'll recall, we did issue a clarification. This was, I think, 2 weeks ago. Because yun nga, nakita nga po namin sa media, medyo some wrong impressions were being created about the report. And we wanted to clarify that wala naman po kasi talaga kaming sinabi doon. The auditors did not say that there were any lost funds and that any such lost funds would have been lost to corruption. Wala pong finding na ganun. So that's why we issued that. And I think that's proof that there was really no intent to malign the DOH. Alam niyo po, I've known Secretary Duque for more than 10 years already. I've worked with him in various capacities, you know. So wala naman intent talaga to malign the Department of Health. The report is straightforward, basically what we do year in, year out. It just so happens this year parang nabigyan ng extra attention, even though in previous years hindi naman ganun ang nangyayari po.
Well, that is understandable because medyo violent ang reaction, no? Congress, Senate, and public na meron pang mga funds na unutilized. And well, we expect DOH really to perform yung hindi naman perfect si DOH, no? But at least siguro ang in-expect ng tao close to being perfect kasi pandemic ngayon, we're saving lives, no? So the only reason why I asked that, Mr. Chair, kasi I've known Chairman Mike Aguinaldo, no? For the information of everyone, we were together in law school. We're batchmate, and I can vouch for the integrity of Chairman Mike Aguinaldo that probably Mike is the last person na may influence mo to do something na may political color. And an honor student, siguro sa batch namin, one of the most respected batchmate namin si Mike, no? And bar top notcher, and you've worked in government for how many years, and wala namang bahid ng katiwalian o walang bahid ng magiging bias in the performance of your duty. Kaya ako mismo as a deputy speaker, I've known you personally. I can vouch that yung findings ng COA is really intended to correct, you know, yung mga dapat i-correct ng DOH, and then also for DOH to perform its function with quick dispatch, kasi people expect yun na talagang buhay ang nakataya, na talagang maliit yung margin of error as far as public opinion, no? So kaya I'm saying this kasi medyo unfair yung lumalabas sa publiko na COA is doing something to, you know, parang sinisingle out si DOH, no? And in the same manner that I've known Secretary Duque, hindi rin naman niya at this time, no, hindi niya ito tolerate na any anomalies, no? So Chairman Mike, alam ko ginagawa niyo lang trabaho niyo, and in fact you're giving DOH enough time, and you're willing in fact to adjust some certain procedures to accommodate at talagang parang mapabilis yung trabaho ng DOH, no? And I'm thankful that dito nag-uusap-usap tayo, no? And it's hindi naman to panahon na magtuturuan tayo. So thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, classmates, and your reputation precedes you. So Mr. Chairman, can I ask DOH Secretary, is he present?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Good afternoon, the Honorable Dinand. Good afternoon.
Magandang hapon, Secretary. You've known Mike for a long time, and you've worked together. Tama po ba?
Oh yes, exactly, Mr. Chairman. I was chairman of the Civil Service Commission when he was the senior deputy executive secretary of the previous administration.
So when that COA findings came out, and alam mo naman that you had a series of meetings with COA, and medyo nag-react yung publiko, and I don't think you were under the impression that Mike is doing this on purpose kasi magkakilala kayo. Tama po ba?
You're absolutely right, Your Honor. Ang nangyari lang talaga dyan, yung pagka-pick up ng media, at hindi naman isinama yung mga sagot ng DOH na nakalagay naman sa website yung mga rejoinders namin. Thank you.
So ikaw mismo, personally, you've known Mike that, you know, Chairman Mike is just doing his job. Tama po ba?
You're absolutely right, Your Honor.
And katulad din na sinabi ni Chairman Mike na you've known each other, no? Or you've worked together at alam naman yan na you're one person na hindi mo rin ito tolerate kahit anong katiwalian sa DOH. And ako, I've worked with you several times. We had meetings and alam ko talagang ginagawa mo lahat. It so happened, medyo people expect more from DOH. So, yung margin of error medyo maliit at saka yung patience ng tao napakaliit pagdating sa hindi pag-implement ng mga policy, especially yung mga sa health workers natin na naghirap. And I know ngayon medyo na-comply na ninyo. And in fact, COA is giving you a wide latitude of leeway to be able to address yung mga bureaucratic red tape, no? And alam ko naman na right now wini-welcome mo na lahat ng tulong ng COA, and COA and DOH is working together to be able to deliver the services that the Filipino people deserve. Tama po ba, Secretary?
You're absolutely right, Mr. Chairman, Your Honor.
So, wala na akong tanong dun sa, anyway, you're working together. Nandito naman si Chairman Singson, nandito yung mga colleagues ko. Alam naman natin na the purpose of this hearing is really to be able to correct, to move on and deliver ng mabilis yung mga inaasahan ng taong bayan dahil buhay nga ang sinisave natin. So, wala naman kayong problema ni Mike, and nag-iintindihan kayo and I know you'll just talk this over and comply with whatever yung mga deficiencies na kailangan i-comply, no? So outside of that, tatanong ko lang, Secretary, alam mo naman ano ang pinaka-main concern ko, di ba? Na
yes,
umaasa pa rin ako hanggang ngayon na sana ma-turn over na yung aming hospital sa DOH dahil kung natatakot tayo sa surge, siguro yung regional hospital na dapat ng patakbuhin ng DOH talagang para magamit na yung mga pondo. Ano po ba ang status natin? Papayag mo ba tayo ng August o i-move sa October? 2 taon na po ito na delay, and alam ko naman na gustong-gusto niya ninyong i-operate to. Ano po ba ang dapat nating gawin? Kasi umaasa yung Region 12 na mag-operate na yung aming regional hospital.
Mr. Chairman, yung updates po, I would like to request the good chairperson if we can recognize Yusek Abdullah Dumama. Yusek Okang Dumama, please, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, you're recognized, Yusek Dumama.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much po. Magandang umaga po sa lahat. Magandang umaga din po sa ating kagalang-galang na Congressman Dinan po. Yes, sir. Dapat September 6 po eh. Actually, the September 6 was na-move naman po kasi na nag-positive po si Director Tan at saka yung kanyang mga tao, yung CARD po, naka-quarantine po ngayon. So, hopefully, after the quarantine time nila, kasi nag-positive po sila, pati yung driver, ang turnover will be happening po. So, ang usapan na building, the PWH, DOH, and then to the province. And then the turnover po, all properties, pagkatapos nun ay gagawin na po as soon as pagbalik po ng ating mga officials po, sir. And then yung nagkaroon na po nung yung account, meron na pong account ang DOH sa Land Bank at naipadala na po sa DBM. Yung mga supplies po, sir, pre-procurement po yesterday. Next week po ang hopefully pre-bidding. And then yung mga budget po is already been in order po, sir. Magkakaroon na lang din realignment sa 2021 budget sa old building. Yung mga aircon kailangan kasi, sir. So we have already proposed that, sir.
Well, I hope yung sense of urgency, no? Parang katulad lang sa issue ngayon niya na you are in a position to help us. But, sana
Yes, sir,
bilisan
we will.
ninyo kasi 2 taon na po to. 2 taon na ng pandemic na kailangan ng mga taong bayan dito yung tulong ng DOH. So sana hindi na to ma-delay kasi nagmo-move tayo na nagmo-move eh. And hopefully, USEC, nandiyan ka naman eh. I don't think we have to wait. Hindi na natin kailangan pang tapos nang makarecover yung mga official para mag-turnover kasi sila nagre-recover, paano naman yung mga may sakit ngayon, di ba? Tsaka yung magkakasakit. So sana sense of urgency lang na i-operate na natin yan at lalo kaming magiging kampante. And remind ko lang kay Secretary Duque na I've been asking na bigyan nyo po yung Region 12 outside of Cotabato City ng COVID laboratory na government-owned para mas mura po at saka maka-access naman kami sa pondo ng gobyerno sa murang swab kasi hanggang ngayon we're dependent on a private hospital. So yun ang isang kailangan namin. So sige. Secretary Duque, nag-usap na naman tayo no before.
Yes, sir.
Na-sure mo ako na tututukan 'yan. So another issue. I'm aware yung last question ko to no. I'm aware that yung 200 million na binigay ng DOH sa province of South Cotabato na building na-terminate. May notice of termination, diba? And I'm just telling you ahead that I will ask the Committee on Health and probably other committees, joint committees, no. We will look into this and bakit alam naman natin na sayang yung 200 million na building na para sa South Cotabato. At we will have to look at the reasons why it was not implemented and the contract was terminated. And hindi naman siguro ganun na lang yan na terminate and then kalimutan na natin kasi meron ng mobilization yung contractor. What happened to the money? Diba? At ilang taon nang dapat nakatulong na yan sa COVID ngayong panahon. No? Siguro inuunahan ko lang kayo that during the budget or even before the budget, I will also talk to Chairman Singson that we have to look into this na hindi naman ganun kadali na mawala yung 200 million na hindi ma-implement na inasahan din ng mga tao dito na makakatulong sa amin. So Secretary Duque, you know, you're aware of that and we've talked about that 2 years ago during the budget hearing. No, so pinaunahan ko lang kayo na we will have to really look into why we were deprived of the 200 million peso building. So Mr. Chair, maraming salamat Secretary Duque. Alam ko na you're in a difficult situation but yung sincerity mo to help, naniniwala ako dyan. Sana lahat ng DOH personnel magtulong-tulong na lang tayo kasi hindi naman to panahon para magturuan. Kailangan ng tao ang tulong ninyo. So sana with more kumbaga yung sense of urgency natin tsaka yung alam natin na kailangan ng tao yung tulong ninyo doblehin na po natin kasi para mapabilis yung recovery natin. And Sec Mike, classmate, I believe in your integrity and I know you're just doing your job. Thank you Mr. Chairman, yun lang po.
Thank you, DS Dinand. Now, I would like to take this opportunity before I call the next interpellator. Going back, continuing with my questioning earlier on Mr. Christopher Lau. Are you still online, Mr. Lau? Mr. Christopher Lau, are you still with us?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Present, Mr. Chair.
You are?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Earlier, I asked you if you had any knowledge. Well, for the benefit of just for clarification, the reason I'm asking Tony Christopher Lau this other issue is because in our discussion regarding the 42 billion, there have been admittance that he was principally involved. No? Meaning to say, it implies a trust and confidence in his ability, and that implication means somebody noteworthy reposed on him that trust and confidence, no? Somebody high up. Now, I'm bringing up again the matter on the Frigate, wherein you made a blanket denial on the knowledge or whatsoever regarding the negotiation or any matter involving the two frigates that were earlier purchased in 2017. Am I correct in saying that?
Mr. Chair, I stated that I did not in any way participate in the said items. Mr. Chair.
Okay, can you repeat that again, Mr. Lau?
I have no participation in the procurement of the said items, Mr. Chair.
Nagbe-break up lang eh. Baka sa akin lang pero
I think I already answered that, Mr. Chair, that on the affirmative that I did not have any participation on the procurement of the said items, Mr. Chair.
okay, because as earlier as I said, no, I have a copy of a letter that was signed by Attorney Lloyd Christopher Lau addressed to Commodore Emperador, no, which reads, Dear Sir, may we respectfully request for your attendance on this Friday, January 20, 2017 in the 4th floor of the new Executive Building, Malacanang at 2 p.m. We would like to specifically discuss with you, would like to specifically discuss with you the issue on CMS something. Thank you once. Thank you, Ambassador Gas. Very truly yours, Attorney Lloyd Christopher Lau, Undersecretary, Office of the Special Assistant to the President. You wrote this, right, Mr. Lau?
Yes,
So
Mr.
meaning to say, you had knowledge, you were part of the team who discussed this.
The item was already procured during the time, Mr. Chair. There was only a complaint. So we inquired as to why there was a complaint on the procured items. As to whether or not we participated in the procurement, we did not, Mr. Chair, because the complaint sent to us was just an issue of unfairness and the CMS. I think it's, yeah, I argue about the CMS. I don't know actually what is CMS. So we asked them to shed light on that regarding the CMS and the procured vessel. So they just presented and explained it. That's the only thing that they did, Mr. Chair.
So when you refer to we, who is we?
Me and staff, we have legal paralegal staff. We make reports. That's what we do, Mr. Chair. When there's a complaint, we refer it to the agency. We ask them to make a response, and we make a summary, Mr. Chair. That's
Yes, and you signed your name, Undersecretary, Office of the Special Assistant to the President. And who was the Special Assistant to the President referred to here?
Secretary Bongo during the time, Mr. Chair.
So basically, you reported directly to the Special Assistant to the President regarding these matters.
We report directly to the Presidential Management Staff under Secretary Cui. Then he consolidates it and reports, submits a summary to the Office of the Special Assistant to the President. The PMS is one of the umbrella functions of the...
Well, specifically, it says Office of the Special Assistant to the President. No? You could have signed Undersecretary, Presidential Management Staff, but specifically...
I think our logo is PMS, Mr. Chair.
Come again?
I cannot recall. Can I see the letter? I think our logo says PMS.
Yes, but your I don't know if you can see it there.
Yes, Mr. Chair. That is correct. There, Mr. Chair, Presidential Management Staff.
Yeah. But it under your name says Office of.
Yes, that's
Special Assistant to the President.
Great, Mr. Chair. It's the Office of the Special Assistant to the President, and one of its umbrella functions under that is a Presidential Management.
PMS is under the Office of the President, no? Presidential Management Staff. But specifically, you signed under your name Office of the Special Assistant to the President, wherein you could have just said you were an Undersecretary, Presidential Management Staff.
Yes, Mr. Chair, because we are under them. That's why we have the presidential management staff as part of my
You're under
office.
the PMS. Yeah, you
Yes.
made that clear under the Secretary Cui at that time.
Yes.
Diba?
Also,
But you had to clarify that you are the Office of the Special Assistant to the President. In any case, so I just made mention of this for the benefit of, I mean, for the information of everybody. As I said, because it implies you were involved in the sensitive discussions on certain matters, and I think this borders on probably national security as well. No? You were high up there, and now we're talking about the 42 billion that is the DOH transferred to the DBMPS, of which again somehow you figured you are a principal figure in the disposition of those funds. No? Again, an indication of a very high level of trust on you by whomever you reported to, no? Or higher ups, for that matter, generally speaking, under the office of the president. Am I correct in saying that you were trusted as competent enough to be dealing with these matters? You have
Yes.
the full trust and confidence, let's just say, no? Never mind that you say you were under Secretary Cui, under the PMS, but with your signing as Office of the Special Assistant to the President, you made it very clear that not only under the PMS under Secretary, but under the Office of the Special Assistant to the President, right?
under EO1, Mr. Chair, the Office of Special Assistant.
Answer the question. Under the Office of the Special, and you said the Office of the Special Assistant to the President was then Secretary Bongo. No?
Yes,
Right.
Mr. Chair. Under EO1, the Office of the Special Assistant to the President has oversight function over the presidential management staff.
Yes. Oh,
The answer
yeah.
is-
But then, as you mentioned earlier, you were working under PMS. Generally speaking, PMS would have sufficed if that is what you want to.
Yes, Mr.
say
Chair,
now.
because
But specifically here, you signed it under the Office of the Special Assistant to the President, which
Yes,
indicates a high level of trust.
Mr. Chair, there are so many officers under the Office of the Special Assistant to the President. One of
Were there other special assistant to the president then?
there's one Office of the Special Assistant to the President. Under his office, there is oversight to the presidential management staff and other offices. I think we have the PCO.
Yeah, we know that. But there's only one special assistant to the president, right?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Yes.
And you were working under that office. Which is part of the PMS.
Yes, I'm working under PMS, under oversight by the Office of the Special Assistant to the President, Mr. Chair.
Which makes it more, which gives it more emphasis that you were trusted enough by the special assistant to the president to be entrusted in dealing with these matters.
Yes,
Now
Mr.
going back to the current issue on the 42 billion, no, I find the connection intriguing that once again you were entrusted principally to for the disposition of the 42 billion for COVID response items. No? Again, to emphasize, katiwa-tiwala kayo eh. May nagtitiwala sa inyo malaki that you are a good and efficient public official. No? So, yun lang ang ano ko, no? It's somehow noticeable. And as I said, during this hearing, yun na nga, lumabas na naman yung pangalan mo and somehow it indicates pagdating sa mga big ticket item, during that time, you were there in the thick of things. And considering that your qualifications, being a professor and a financial expert in financial matters, or etc. Now, your stint with the government was only up to when and how many months?
Technically 5 years, Mr. Chair.
5 years from 2016
Yes, Mr. Chair.
up to June of this year.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Oh, okay. Your latest position being
The President, PSDBM.
the PSDBM. Now, why did you resign your position, the PSDBM?
I tried to apply for overall deputy ombudsman, but since there were several issues, I withdrew my application, and after that, I tendered my resignation, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Okay. That was just for additional clarification on your principal involvement in these matters. Now, Secretary Duque asked to be excused because he has to attend the 1:00 p.m. for IATF meeting, and the PCSO CEO of PhilHealth also, Mr. Giran, asked to be excused as well. No? Considering
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I reassure you, Mr. Chairman, that the other officials of DOH will stay behind for further questions. Thank you again in behalf of the DOH for this opportunity, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, thank you, Secretary Duque. Considering that we're discussing in Congress now the national budget, no, every agency, and not all the members of the committee could not attend our hearing. However, they indicated that they wanted to participate, except that they're doing some interpolation as well in the budget presentation. I'll just go through quickly whoever is available now. DS John Martin Nieto. DS Kong Martin Nieto, are you still online?
So yes, can I call or call?
Yes. You have the floor. You can do your interpolation.
Nice.
Mr. Chair, okay lang po ako, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chairman.
Maraming salamat po.
You have 5.
Okay. So, DS Congressman John Nieto, okay, hindi ka na interpolate?
The concern of our taxpayer.
Come again?
Hindi na po, Mr. Chair. Maraming salamat po.
So, we move on to Vice Chair David Suarez. Vice Chair Kong David Suarez, are you online? Calling once. Vice Chair David Suarez, are you online? It's your turn to interpolate. Calling twice. Okay. Comsec. There are no more interpolators.
Mr. Chair, no more on our list, sir.
At this point in time, again, as I said, Congress is in the thick of reviewing the national budget, and most of our members are there participating. I myself will be also participating there. So I would like to propose that we suspend our hearing now with the option to resume after consulting with all the other members the continuance of our ongoing hearing, as there are still other interested interpellators, as well as some issues that really need to be answered. But again, as I said, this will be in consultation with all the other members before we decide whether to continue and or terminate this hearing, So for the meantime, we are suspending our hearing and an advisory from the COMSEC after consultation will be disseminated. For any other member of the committee, are there any other last-minute comments on or suggestions?
I'm Joe Clumia from St. Luke's Medical Center, Employees Association Union President po.
Okay. Yes, from St. Luke's.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Clumia, sorry I wasn't able to give you time on the last time, no? But you're a very important part of this hearing as you're representing the healthcare workers, certain segment of the big association of healthcare workers. Go ahead, Mr. Clumia.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Paparating ko lang po no, sa publiko, ang binibigay po na nagbigay ng announcement ang DOH regarding po doon ng pagbibigay ng template sa sasubmit ng MAT, meals, accommodation at transportation allowance sa ano lang po, from September 15 to 2000, September 15 to December 19, 2020 lang po. So yan po nakakadismaya, kagaya po ng sinabi ni Congressman na Honorable Congressman Fortun, na dapat po hanggang nung Bayanihan 2 ay extended po ito. So nakakalungkot po kasi yung ibang kasamahan namin na nag-aabang po hanggang sa ngayon. At yun na nga po, ang mga kasamahan namin mga nurses ay nagbabalak na po na bibitaw na po, ano? So sana po maibigay kasi pangako din po namin at tulong po namin yun sa kanila. Huwag muna kayong magsisi-resign sa pamamagitan ng mga mambabatas, baka matulungan tayo sa ating mga problema at makuha natin ang mga benepisyo na kapaloob sa Bayanihan 2. Kailan po, maraming salamat, Mr. Chair.
Yes, I think Undersecretary Yusek Vega, ano nga ba yung kautusan ni Presidente tungkol rito tsaka sa pag-release? Ano ba yung na-discuss natin? Yusek Vega?
Mr. Chair, good noon po at saka kay Mr. Clumia. Sorry, I couldn't get your name. Tama po yun, ang instruction po ng President to provide the necessary benefits, most specifically na-mention yung SRA, covering those mga eligibles and who have already been submitted and validated by the regions. This would account to about 20,000 plus healthcare workers for 311 million. That was already done and given as of yesterday po. Now for the MAT meals and accommodation and transportation benefits, it was also noted in this meeting that Secretary Duque and the Department of Health will write the DBM in terms of the MAT covering not just September to December but January to June, because we still don't have any guidelines in terms of that provision, sir. So we are writing, as we mentioned, we have written DBM before, and we will write them again in terms of this benefit. So that's and for the other eligible healthcare workers, both public and private, that has still to be covered by the SRA from January to June. We have already collated a number of eligible workers or healthcare workers coming from the region, submitted by the HR of the different private institutions, and they will submit that to us. And this will be a part of our request to DBM, again, for the batch release for the SRA that is being mentioned. So that's the status right now, sir.
Okay. Mr. Clumia, does that clarify your concern on the inclusive of private and public healthcare workers, no? Of which
Tama, sir. Tama, Mr. Chair. Tama.
association is included. Now, Yusek, ito ba, kailangan mag-submit sila ng listahan or coming from the hospital? Because they have to indicate number of days present, tama po ba?
Yeah, coming from the hospital, sir, they just have to put in the names of the persons and so that this will be validated and we will secure the budget for this from DBM, sir. That's what they're asking, sir.
Have you come out with a circular modifying your earlier circular imposing restrictive requirements? Nahihirapan daw sila mag-comply kasi noon, Yusek Vega.
Yun nga, sir. Pero that's the law that really specifies it, sir. Especially for SRA, directly catering and in contact with COVID patients. So that can be interpreted liberally din, sir.
Yes, in cooperation with COA naman, sabi nila, once you discuss it with COA, they can be a bit lax in some of the requirements. And we should expedite that because this is, we're talking about the allowances and compensation for our healthcare workers who are the primary frontliners and who are in touch with physically in touch with our COVID positive patients. Napakalaking bagay po yan. Otherwise, pag nag-book out sila, hindi ko na alam kung paano tayo mag-ano dyan.
We understand that fully well, sir, being a healthcare worker myself.
So can we, when can we expect a concrete action from the part of the DOH and DBM? When can you agree to address this their situation?
Mr. Chairman, we already wrote guidance for the liberal interpretation of the grant of SRA under Republic Act number 11494. And COA recommended in that letter that to first amend the IRR of the RA 11494. So we will have to do what is needed by COA, sir. That's the amendment of the IRR.
By way of a timeline, Yusek, can you give us a more definitive, like for example, in 2 weeks or 1 week, because this is long due them already?
Okay, sir, but we need to talk to several agencies on this. I can't get the exact timeline, but we will do this the soonest, sir.
Yes, you have to keep in mind they cannot forever be working and waiting and being exposed. Asking them to sacrifice more. Tapos hindi natin sila binabayaran, ano? O binibigyan ng allowance.
Yeah, we are gradually coordinating with DBM for the batches of related workers.
You might be facing a bigger fire, so to speak, pagka nag-walk outan sila, no? So I think you should give this the highest priority and inform the committee and inform all those concerned when you can come out with this SRA. Mr. Clumia, any other questions?
Yung Vega, meron pong concern yung aming mga nasasakupan po. Ako po kayo nagre-represent ng 10 hospital unions sa NCR. Yung pong regarding po sa compensation, ang nahirapan po kasi yung iba, so sobra pong hirap pasukin yung website. So baka po pwedeng magawa ninyo po ng paraan na paano i-lessen na hindi po sila masyadong mahirapan kasi yung individual filing, yun po yung pinakamahirap daw po pasukin. May mga Excel pa po na kailangan mapuntahan. So yung ganun pong paraan po baka alisin, Yusek. Thank you po, Your Honor.
Yusek Vega.
There was a disconnection coming from our end. Mr. Chairman, Jao, can you please repeat the issue or the query or manifestation you wanted to? I'm sorry, but there was an interconnection problem, a technical problem.
Yes, sure. Yes. Ganito po, Yusek, no? Yun daw po sa compensation, pag nag-file daw po sila ng doon sa mga benefits po. Napakahirap daw po kasi pasukin yung website ng DOH, Yusek. Baka po pwede po nakiusap sila paano po daw ma-lesen na kasi hindi po marunong yung iba gumamit ng computer. So ganun po yung problema nila, paano daw po. Baka po pwedeng mabigyan nyo rin po kami sa nandiyan naman po si Director Balboa. Opo, nag-uusap naman po kami minsan. So sana po doon sa mga requirements o yung forms, baka po pwedeng maglabas na lang po ng forms instead na gagamitin po, papasok po doon, mag-file online, nahirapan po sila sa online, Yusek.
Yes, okay, that's we will work on it, Jao and Mr. Chairman, and seek that and help you out through our regional health offices para mas madali,
Maraming salamat po, Yusek. Mabuhay kayo.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Clumia, meron naman kayong master list ng mga members nyo na that you can probably submit to the DOH for validation kaagad pag may nag-file.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Ngayon po na tumawag po sa akin ng management, nag-double time na po sila, baka abutin daw po, nakiusap na po kay Director Balboa na mag-extend sila baka hanggang madaling araw para trabahuin lang po yung maisubmit lang kasi deadline na po kasi ngayong araw. So magsasubmit na rin daw po ng list yung aming management. Thank you po. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Medyo umihina na rin yung ating internet. And again, as I said earlier, if no other members of Congress are interested in interpreting and or are available, we will now proceed to suspend this hearing with the option of resumption. But it will be in consultation with the other members and will be advised to everybody concerned on what our next move will be. Okay, so if there are any other members of Congress here present? Comsec, can you confirm or not?
With your permission, sir, we'd like to acknowledge the members who have just logged in.
Yes, go ahead.
Before we go, we would like to acknowledge the Honorable Emery Cuano Dizon, Honorable Ferdinand Hernandez, Honorable John Marvin Nieto, Vice Chair David Suarez, and the Honorable Bernadette Herrera.
Yes, we called them earlier. Are they present again now? Are they present now?
They are online, sir, but presently inactive.
Okay, so well, we cannot if they're not active, we cannot not knowing when they will be active. We will now proceed in the suspension of this hearing, and again, as I mentioned, we will notify everybody of the resumption after consulting with all our members, COMSEC. Is that okay na, no? COMSEC?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay. To all our guests and members who were present, no, thank you very much. Our heartfelt appreciation for your presence and availability as always. And we will baka pupunta rin kayo sa budget hearing to help in the presentation of your budget. So we will see each other there also. In the meantime, please accept our heartfelt gratitude for your cooperation and very candid answers. Maraming po salamat sa lahat. I now, considering that there are no other members of Congress who will move for the suspension, I guess the chair will unilaterally move and declare that this hearing is hereby suspended and that the resumption of which shall be announced later. COMSEC, noted?
Noted, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Maraming salamat po lahat sa inyo. We'll see each other again if ever. And thank you very much for your participation. Maraming
Thank you, sir.
salamat.
Thank you. Salamat, sir. Salamat, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ingat po.
Kayo rin po.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.